Okay, it says that we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Stormybman channel with the Friday night chop session with Stormybman. And tonight we are rolling for July 19th, 2019, Friday evening. And I have a host of people with me this evening to talk boxing. From the panel, we have Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. We have Kane, One of Them Ones Media. We have the Odd Fella, and we have Hypey. We are ready to roll and talk about what's going on in the game this week. So, salute, fellas. How's everybody?
Yes, peace.
Yes, peace, Stormy B. Peace to the panel. In the dig. We got a couple people falling in as I speak. In the dig. But once again, it's a good night to talk boxing. Another chop session. In the dig. We got some fights on tonight as well as a plethora of fights on tomorrow. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, sir. And I'd like to also say to the listening audience, for those who aren't aware, this evening I've got one of them ones on there with us tonight, and the brothers from the UK, and we're proud to have him. He's a man that has a great deal to offer with his own channel out here, and also with his knowledge coming from the other side of the pond, as they say. So with all respect, I want to welcome Kane with us this evening, and one thing in particular, before we get off air tonight, I would like us to have some type of small discussion about the tragedy that we were briefed with the news of this week with the passing of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. But one person in particular who's with us tonight is Kane, and which I know that Pernell was a fighter that really meant a lot to you. So before we leave, I would definitely like to get you in on that conversation and have you say some things with us, you know. But before that, I mean, we can save that for a little bit later. I want to keep things wide open this evening, fellas. We can discuss whatever the topic of the sport, what's happening in the sport this evening, because I'm just excited to have you all back with me because, you know, I haven't been able to do my Friday night shows on a regular basis as of late. So would anybody in particular like to kick things off with a subject that you've been chomping at the bit to speak a little more on, that you may not have had a chance to finish talking about?
Well, I'll just start off by saying I appreciate you for letting me on the panel, Stormy B. It's a pleasure to be here, and look forward to the segment of Sweet Pea Whitaker, and I appreciate being here, man. It's the first time I've been on your panel, and looking forward to where the conversation takes us.
Well, with the honor of my UK brethren, one of them ones on the panel, maybe we should start off with some UK fights. Big one going on tomorrow for the now minted the WBC interim heavyweight championship in the dig. So that unofficially makes the winner of this fight, or the capture of this belt, the mandatory for Deontay Wilder. And I'm talking about Dillian the Blouse Snatcher White against Oscar Kaboom Rivas, my guy out of Montreal by way of Colombia, in a dig. What are your thoughts on this fight? One of them ones, is Dillian White really world class, or is he gonna get exposed by the undersized but speedy yet skillful Oscar Rivas?
Yeah, for sure. So Dylan White's from South London. In fact, he's from the same town that I'm from, or that I grew up in Brixton, South London. I've never liked Dylan White. I think that he is a domestic level fighter. I think he's a domestic level fighter. One thing in particular that I notice about Dylan White is he gasses out a lot. And I don't understand why some people put more the stock that they put into Dylan White, because Dylan White hasn't really done anything for me to really give him any high accolades or any high esteem. He gasses out a lot. Listen, in his fight against Derek Chisora, which took place at the O2 Arena in London, South London, he was losing that fight. Okay, he gassed out by the third round. I actually thought I was actually giving him 6 rounds, but he gassed out by the third round. He threw a lazy right hand, or was it a left? I can't remember exactly, but he threw a lazy left. It just so happened to connect on Chisora's chin, and he got the job done. This happens in boxing, you know. But I don't know whether Dylan White is fully charged up over that performance, and he's thinking that he's the man now. His past performances, he's always gassed out. Yeah. I challenge anyone to go back, rewatch Dylan White's performances. He breathes out the mouth heavy, okay, by the third round. When he fought, all his past performances, he breathes out the mouth heavy, and then he has to resort to fighting on the inside, leaning over the opponent, you know, and all of that. Now, some people say that this is a 50-50 fight. This is a big challenge for Dylan White. And in terms of predictions, I'm leaning towards Rivas picking up the W in this. And I say that hesitantly because anyone can get it in the heavyweight division. But I think Rivas, I like his hand speed. I like his boxing IQ. I don't have a lot of regard for Dylan White. I think he is slightly overhyped and people think he's a lot better than he is, perhaps because of the names on his resume. But I'm leaning towards Rivas winning that one. And I can't go any further as to whether it's going to be by a split majority or whether it's going to be a knockout. I just believe that Rivas will pick up the W in this.
Absolutely. I agree with one of the ones with the comments of Dillian White being domestic level fighter. I agree 1,000,000,000% with that. And the thing with Dillian White, he's not a fighter who's been proven as being a high caliber fighter. What it is that he's receiving, the promotional sponsoring through Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, and really there's really no competition when it comes to um, promotional competition over there. So he's one of the guys who's a risen star, kind of a name, but an unproven name, who hasn't done nothing on the international scale of things. Going into this fight, I just don't see his skills matching up with this cat Rivas, being that he's supposed to be at this high level, but he lacks, insufficient when it comes to his cardio bank. I think this dude Rivas is going to go in here, allow this guy to, weather the storm, and then he'll start to give off his work. So then White has to be able to take what he puts out, and I don't think he's up for that task. It's going to be a dangerous fight. If his cardio is to fail him, that's going to be all she wrote going into this fight.
Indeed, indeed. Stormy B, what's your thoughts on Dillian White, Oscar
You
Rivas
know,
fight?
the funny thing about my thoughts on Dillian White is like, I love the fact that Kane pointed out about him being a domestic fighter, and in my words and description, I would define him as being like a mid second to third tier fighter. I don't think he's a top 10 fighter. I don't think he is as good as he thinks he is, or even as he's being touted. With the setbacks that they suffered from the gentleman who was holding on to those, or I should say, babysitting those title belts. He's the next man up that they have to push into the forefront of the light, but he has done absolutely nothing battle tested wise to move up into serious consideration. And it is it has taken a great deal for me to hold back a number of thoughts and feelings about him after hearing what Teddy Atlas had to say earlier about Deontay Wilder, and his thoughts and feelings about like not giving Dillian a shot. And I found it almost ridiculously laughable that Teddy Atlas called himself going in on Wilder about not giving Dillian White a fight and for his WBC title. And I'm like, really? It's like, let's roll that back a little bit and think about the other divisions and the massive ducking that's going on in the sport. I don't know what it is that Teddy Atlas doesn't like about Deontay Wilder other than the color of his skin, which is blatantly obvious. But I will say he has taken it upon himself to do at every waking turn as much as he can to be damning toward fighters of color and who are deservedly in line for prestige and value. He tries at every waking turn to try to strip them of that personally. And I wish he catch a right hand on one of those scars that he's got on the side of his head for being so disruptive to these men. Because there's no place in the sport for this, and it seems like we're living in a day and age where these men, and you know what I say when I say these men, think that they can say whatever they want to say on live airways and be disrespectful to our fighters. Dillian White has done absolutely jack poo-poo to be in position to challenge for a title. There are fighters over here on U.S. soil that he could fight, that he won't fight. There are fighters over there from where he comes from, and Kane can attest to this, that he could fight, and he hasn't fought. So it's like he thinks that by some osmosis, he's supposed to just appear in a date with our champion, and he has earned no stripes to do so. And when you take a person that's a personality who has been put in front of cameras and microphones as a Teddy Atlas, who could speak so irresponsibly and say these things, to also give some type of support and credit to someone like White, when he knows that if White was a champion, he'd be discrediting him up the wazoo. So there's so much buffoonery going on around here. It strikes a nerve to me. And I'd like to throw the question back at my guys on the panel. How do you guys feel about that? And have you heard the hypocrisy that was spoken and released on video today about Teddy Atlas and his thoughts and feelings about White getting a title shot with Deontay Wilder? Have you guys heard that?
Stormy B, I came across it on Instagram. Salute to my guy 503 Lion. He posted it up on the Smoke City Mobcast Instagram page, and that clip of Teddy Atlas so-called going in on his he has a podcast show. I forget what it's called, but he has his own little podcast show, and he was going in on Deontay Wilder, claiming that Wilder's been ducking Dillian White, spewing the same regurgitated garbage as Eddie Hearn about this whole he's been mandatory for 600 days. That bothered me so much. I had to make a comment on that same post, and I tagged Teddy Atlas in the comment. So he must have, if he runs his own account, he saw that, you know, dig. And I clearly stated that Dillian White, even though that he is the number one mandatory, the number one ranked in the WBC, he's a silver WBC champion. Therefore, he must fight for a title eliminator before he even gets a title shot. And he hasn't fought a title eliminator yet. So I don't know where this whole notion that this old media is coming with, that this guy's a mandatory, because he's not that. You know what I mean? But getting on to the present, I'm disappointed in the WBC for essentially bowing down and making this fight an interim WBC championship, and essentially making Dillian White the mandatory, because he should have to go through the gauntlet that was presented to him before. He refused to fight Luis Ortiz. He refused to fight Dominic Brazil. He refused to fight Tyson Fury, or maybe it was a little bit of both. You know what I mean? In that case, but and now they're making this acceptable for an unofficial mandatory fight, elimination fight. I think it's kind of ridiculous. The WBC continues to do discreditable activities and movements. It's becoming appalling. So yeah, once again, I mean, this whole Dillian White situation and Teddy Atlas, it was absolutely despicable how he was coming at Wilder, and it's just more of the same. I don't understand the beef that he has with him in the dig, but the fact remains is not only the bias that he's showing against the black fighter, but he's spewing out information that just isn't factual. You know what I mean? For a guy of his stature, you know what I mean, and a so-called platform that he holds, he should be able to, you know what I mean, understand and interpret the rules of the sanctioning bodies and what in the sport properly, instead of spewing and regurgitating the same propaganda that this old lion ass Eddie Hearn be putting out on a day-to-day basis. So shame on Teddy Atlas, you know what I mean? Middle finger to the motherfucker. Excuse my language.
Yeah. So I didn't hear the comments myself, or where they came from. And I'm not too heavy on the heavyweight division. I feel like I'm kind of constantly being dragged into the heavyweight division. I'm more interested in everything from cruiserweight downwards. But I do have some commentary on this. But first, let me say this. Far be it, do I wish for people to believe that I'm just a UK guy that's dumping on UK fighters like I'm on some sellout thing. It's not that. Stormy B hasn't got me on here for no agenda or anything. I'm not trying to appease no American audience or anything. So my opinions are fully my objective opinions, and it is what it is. So when you hear me going in on some of these UK guys and you hear my terminologies and things, you know, I don't think it's because, oh, it's an American panel and I'm just trying to appease. No, I say this to my UK brethren as well, you know. But back to this thing here, I got no sympathy for Dillian White. As I understand it, he turned down the opportunity to fight Luis Ortiz, which would have put him in a really good position to fight Wilder. He turned down the opportunity to fight Dominic Brazil. He turned down the opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua in April the 13th, when the situation with Wilder fell through for whatever reason. Dillian White was offered. Dillian White was offered that date. He turned it down, and I believe the offer was something like 7 million. They offered him 7 million, and he wanted more. He turned that down. So, you know, it come like Dillian White just wants to have his cake and eat it, you know. So I've got no sympathy for him, no empathy for him. And in actual fact, let me tell you this. I want White to actually beat Rivas, because I want Wilder to knock him out, because Dillian White is a knockout waiting to happen. You understand? I give him 3 rounds before he meets Wilder's right hand. Dillian White doesn't have the skills. There's nothing Dillian White can do to beat Wilder. So I would just love to see Dillian White knocked out. And it pains me to say this because, you know, he's from the UK. But, you know, in my opinion, he's not the best representation of us. It is what it is. That's how it goes sometimes. But, yeah, I've got no sympathy for him. As for Teddy Atlas, well, you know, Teddy Atlas has a history of saying some radical, outlandish things, you know. So, you know, for whatever he's got to say, I just kind of zone out and be like, all right, well, yeah, it's Teddy Atlas, isn't it? So it is what it is. But yeah, no sympathy, no empathy, and it is what it is. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No. I'm done.
No, I said what Teddy Atlas was doing in that interview was doing kind of the scheme of what an agendist does, and that's to misinterpret or intentionally send out a misinterpretation of information. Them using the 600 days, putting on the deep emphasis of Wilder avoiding this guy for 600 days, also spewing out lies, kind of trying to turn something into it being criminal, as if Deontay Wilder is trying to exploit Dillian White, but really leaving out a bunch of information. It's also to make Eddie Hearns not look so guilty. He can be part of the agenda of not making look so bad. But it's just always the mode of a Teddy Atlas. You know, Teddy Atlas has no love when it comes to the American black athlete, and he's been jaded ever since the Mike Tyson era of things, whatever. And kind of that's kind of what ruined his career within the sport of boxing is him being vanished from that camp over whatever the crap Mike Tyson has done. And he has hold that near and dear to his heart that he wants to seek revenge against any uh, black athlete that reminds him of a rising star such as Mike Tyson. And that's why he comes into this interview putting out such BS lies of the 600 day thing. He's a guy who has never, ever followed Dillian White. And he doesn't even know the real details to the story. Wilder has never avoided this fool, Dillian White. He's given him every opportunity at a fight. But does Teddy Atlas go about putting that out? No, because he wants to add this into his agenda, his reasoning behind keeping fans from turning on the actual ducker of Deontay Wilder, and that being Tyson Fury. And that's really what ties into him covering up for Tyson Fury, not to make him look so bad, but reshifting the focus of things trying to be put on Deontay Wilder. But it's going to fail because too much of the details as it relates to these stories have been put out by all of us as a global collective. We put out the information and details, so it's no way that he'll be able to fool fans into believing that BS he put out there today. That's all I got on that one.
Yeah,
I don't know whether you wanted to.
Before we go any further, fellas, excuse me. I want to just take a moment and acknowledge the chat. We've got a lot of people flooding in now, and I just want to take a moment out to acknowledge because I've been off the airwaves on the Friday show and haven't been consistent over the past 3 weeks or so. But we've got people out here, kind of like some, and even some new faces for the Stormybman channel, and we should always let the people know that we're acknowledging them being out there, and particularly on this evening. I think it's a record for the ladies joining the Stormybman Friday night chop session. So along with the original people that I greeted uh, through the text messages, I want to take a minute and go back and acknowledge we got Brown on Boxing who's jumped in with us, Derek McGee, GG, Cursor, Star City J, Ronald Finkley is here, Nitty G, um, Mark Wunderlich. We've got Kurt Warren and Denise Wards. What's going on, Denise? This is my first time seeing you in the chat, so welcome. Miss Boxing is out there. Toot Robinson, I think I said Toot already. We Laws Donkers, the pimpin'. What's going on, Laws? He's out there. Another UK brother who's really cool and has a wonderful channel. Whenever you get a chance to listen to Laws talk about boxing, he's another one that gives a good perspective, quite like Kane does. So we got real people out here rocking in the LDBC who want to talk the quality aspect of boxing and not just get on and say irresponsible things and things like that. But I'm sorry that I took that break there. But I think it was Kane maybe that was going to come in, or Reggie Owens that was going to have something else to say about the Teddy Atlas thing, because this is something we should talk about. And normally I don't take positions in politics or some of boxing, but Teddy Atlas is a poison, man. He is really a poison for domestic American fighters, particularly fighters of color. And at every waking turn that he gets, he tries to put these fighters down. And I want to really know, what do you think about that? What do you feel about that? What do you think should be done about that? And should people start now like flooding his mailbox with, you know, messages of this must stop, or you get out of the sport yourself? Because it's very irresponsible that he want to hold someone in condemnation when the entire sport is corrupt, but you want to pick and choose who you want to snipe at. You know, we're the whole Canelo thing isn't even cold yet, and he's not saying anything about that in the manner of which he talks like what he had to say about the Dillian White thing. And for those of you on the panel that said that you didn't, I think it might have been Kane, said you didn't get a chance. You know, he has a podcast show that they air on YouTube, and you know, once a day they air his clips. Sometimes they'll air the whole show, and then they break it up into clips and release it throughout the day or throughout the week or whatever. And you listen to this guy talk and you hear what he says. He has always got something negative to say about the fighters of color. And I don't like that. I don't like that, because boxing is full of personalities. It's not just one color out there. But this man makes sure that he gets out of the bed before he brushes his teeth saying something negative about fighters who should be respected. What do you guys have to say on that?
Man, I concur with you, man, and it's the issue, man. He comes from that background. He comes from the network that does that. He's an ESPN grown guy. He's an HBO grown type guy. He comes from that. Even from his background, man, I can't imagine what a guy out of the Catskills is like. It's just within him, especially the crap he pulled when he had the crap he pulled when he states that Terrence Crawford isn't the number one guy right in front of his face, following one of his fights to prop up another guy who refuses to accept the lies and praise that they give him, and that being the Lomachenko, them trying to prop him as the number one star. Like, I mean, that was just the most disrespectful thing, and it just shows that he can give two shit. He's kind of unapologetic about his hatred towards black athlete, proven black athletes. And I mean, it's just the mode of who Teddy Atlas is. He's really an irrelevant guy, and that's the reason why he lost his job over at ESPN. He's an irrelevant, haterish ass dude, and they have to cut ties with that dude. But man, it's just, I don't know. It's just always been the kind of the way of a Teddy Atlas, but I think you may have to dig deeper into who he is. And I think everything stems from the situation he can never let go. And that's with Mike Tyson being this young, black beast of a guy who he looks at. And I think that hatred stems from there, and the ball just keeps rolling as it goes through any of these black American fighters. Like, he can give two craps about a Dillian White situation. What he wants to do is to deflect away from the Tyson Fury situation, and that's the thing that kills off the sport of boxing. He wants to talk about how boxing is the most corrupt thing, and this and that. But the thing that's killing off heavyweight boxing has been Tyson Fury. No one else. Dillian White isn't even a factor in this division.
Yeah. I've got to co-sign what Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owen was saying. I really like the commentary that you mentioned with regards to Teddy Atlas coming from a certain school of thought and a certain background. I was thinking how I could put this in PG terms. there's a lot of things I could say, and I would like to go in on with regards to Teddy Atlas, but maybe I'll do it on another show because I don't want to go too far off the subject. But perhaps I'm a little battle hardened when it comes to Teddy Atlas. One of the most sensational radical statements that he made for me was referring to Lomachenko as the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali. And as we all know, Muhammad Ali wasn't respected. Not to go too far off the subject, I'm gonna bring it back. But as we know, Muhammad Ali wasn't respected at the time when he was active. But when he was mute, all of a sudden, the mainstream media want to pipe up and jump up and talk about he's a great American hero and all this and that, right? So now he's talking about Lomachenko being the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali. That in and unto itself, I find disrespectful on so many levels. Because to say that is to say people like the greatest defensive fighter of all time, Pernell Whitaker, didn't exist. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't exist. James Toney didn't exist. Roy Jones didn't exist. And he ain't even a black and white thing. There's plenty, De La Hoya, there's plenty of Mexican fighters, white fighters, all great fighters that have existed since Muhammad Ali. So to prop up this guy Lomachenko to say that he's the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali, I took offense to that, and that's not the first thing. As Reggie Owens was saying, he seems like he's butthurt since the Mike Tyson era. And there's a whole load of other commentary that I would like to say, but I think I'll keep it PG. And, it just is what it is with Teddy Atlas. You kind of have to. That's why I don't look for him. I don't check for him. I know he's got his podcast. I'm not subscribed to that shit. So that's, it just is what it is when it comes to it.
Yeah, that also thing about Teddy Atlas, he made his name off of a brother in the sport, Michael Moore, and Michael Moore was the talent that came out of the Kronk gym. He was destined for some good things regardless. And during his match where he challenged Evander Holyfield for his heavyweight title, Teddy Atlas took it upon himself to be this guy in the corner, spewing these metaphors and these, things like that. And the HBO mics on the pay-per-view broadcast picked that up and they went with it and they turned it into a show where it became more about Teddy Atlas instead of Michael Moore and his performance in the fight with Evander Holyfield, when there was clearly on that night something wrong with Evander physically and he could not perform at his normal level in a title fight. And Moore ended up getting a decision over Evander Holyfield, but the entire talk about the fight afterwards was what Teddy Atlas was saying to Moore on the stool in the corner and stuff. At one point, he even got dramatic as Moore was walking back to the corner, and he sat on the stool in front of Moore and said, "Do you want me to fight for you or something?" He got overly dramatic, and then that's how he got his job on ESPN. I don't know if you guys knew that story. But all of that drama and stuff that he caused that night, that he became the talk of the town instead of Michael Moore becoming the new heavyweight champion of the world. And that being the discussion, it was about Teddy Atlas being a jockey. Now, I'll tell you something. Jockeys ride these horses, and everybody knows and has heard in horse racing, they heard of Secretariat. But how many people knew who the jockey was riding Secretariat? Huh?
Nobody.
Case closed. That's what I'm trying to say. So Teddy Atlas, you probably out there, you listen to these brothers in the LDBC. You might even be listening to me now because somebody out there done told you we're talking about you right now. Go to hell.
And I'm looking up on the story of Teddy Atlas, man. He comes from a silver spoon. I'm reading up on him. He comes from the wealthy area of Staten Island, New York. Uh, silver spoon privileged kid. Father's a doctor. Mother's Miss America pageant. So he comes from that kind of lineage, that kind of bloodline. Snobby kid, wouldn't listen, kind of rebellious, and he earned that scar from messing with some street cats, and he got his face slashed the hell up. And that's kind of where he comes from. He's nothing but silver spoon kid who's trying his hardest to fit in as being some type of badass, and that's all it is. No one takes him serious. He's a silver spoon clown that everybody treats him as he is. And that's all I got.
I'm not feeling him at all, man. I mean, I don't want the show to be about that guy, but I did want to touch on that and bring it out. If someone else has something they want to say about it, please, it's okay, it's open. But if you like to move on, that's equally fine by me as well.
Yeah, that
No,
pretty
I
much
mean,
sums it up on Teddy Atlas. I mean, yeah, his spot is dwindling anyway. His podcast isn't as big as doesn't have the big platform like other podcasts. You know what I mean? Do so. I mean, even though he did make those statements, and he is Teddy Atlas. He's hanging on by a thread. I mean, he's no longer with ESPN. No longer has a big gig. His audience, I don't think is going to be growing anytime soon. And it's probably dwindling at this point. So, I mean, it is what it is, and we shouldn't shed too much more energy on this guy. Um, he's a straight idiot that's spewing out uh, non-facts. So, you know what I mean? F him.
Indeed, indeed.
yeah, I don't have much to
You
say
guys keep
about.
cooking. I'm getting an email ready for 78.
Oh, we got the
Yeah,
general coming in. Yes, indeed.
yeah, I don't have much to say about Teddy Atlas. But whilst we were, where's that feedback coming from? Is that me? Uh, yeah, I just got a little. Yo. Say one second, I think.
No, you're clear. You're clear.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just get a
Yeah,
bit of
you're
feedback.
good, Ken. Go ahead, cook. Go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. Yeah, whilst we was on the subject of Dylan White, I just thought I'd let everyone else know that on the same card, this Dylan White Oscar Rivas card, there are some other interesting fights on the undercard that I think I'll just run through, and if anyone's interested, can kind of share your opinions. But um, there's Dave Allen and David Price on this undercard. There's also Derek Chisora and Artur Spilka. We've also got a sort of a domestic level up and coming guy called Lawrence Okoli. He's fighting on the undercard. There's another domestic level up and coming guy from South London, once again called Richard Riakpor. Richard Riakpor is under Dylan White's management and promotion. So this is another one on the same card. And then also there's a guy called Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is an up and coming heavyweight. I think he's from Ipswich or Norwich in the UK. He's somewhat of a sensation. A lot of people have got their eyes on Fabio Wardley in the UK. He's looking promising. So these are just fights on this undercard that's taking place at the O2 Arena in South London. Let me have a look here. Yes, so this is going to be on. Actually, I'm not sure what broadcaster's picking this up in the US, but in the UK, Sky Box Office. They've got the audacity to put this on Box Office, But yeah, from the UK perspective, these are some domestic level fighters that if you're interested, these are some of the names that you might want to look out for on this particular card.
No, my question about that, not with the fights, but as you guys being UK boxing fans, how do you guys feel about many of the guys who kind of sit at the top of the UK market? How do you feel with a lot of these guys not taking on the challenges of coming over here into America and taking on these bouts? Do that bother you guys, or how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel misrepresented, or because I know the fan base is so loyal to their fans, they can care less where these guys go. But overall, how do you guys feel? You know, because America and Britain is a very, very competitive throughout the history. How do you guys feel with your fighters not coming over here into this, you know, this global market and representing your country? Does that bother you guys at all?
Yeah, it bothers me personally, because a lot of these guys, especially the black fighters, they don't represent my environment where I come from in South London. You know, when you look at people like AJ, and no disrespect to AJ or whatever, but you look at people like AJ, Dylan White, and Dubois, these guys, I can't relate to them. I don't know where they come from. And you know, another brother from I forget who it was, but you know, he pointed out, he said, "Yo, how comes you guys have always got these weird ass people representing you?" That's just a personal thing. But going back to your question, yeah, it does bother us. Well, me personally, that people like Tyson Fury pulled that bullshit move that he pulled. I didn't like that, and it's the same with a lot of these guys that have the opportunity to fight at world level, and these fights don't happen. For sure, I don't endorse that. No one really endorsed that. But then at the same time, the culture, the boxing culture over here, is that, you know, fights get made domestically, and a lot of the fight fans, they're happy with that. So, for example, you have a brother by the name of Joshua Buatsi, and then you've got another guy called Anthony Yarde, which I'm sure you all know Anthony Yarde. You know, a lot of people have been talking about them two fighting in the UK, you know, and that could potentially happen. And things like those types of matchups, when we know that we have two up and coming guys, and they're parallel, them type of things will happen in the UK. Or those types of matchups will happen in the UK. So when it comes to the world stage and you're looking at these specific incidences like Tyson Fury and Dylan White and Anthony Joshua, these are specific cases that I personally don't endorse. And from what I know, the UK fans are also they want to see these fights as well. You know, so it's not something that you know, we're content with, or we don't want to see. We don't. Well, me personally, it's not like a thing of I don't want to see, you know, such and such a fighter get hurt or anything like that. To me, boxing is the pursuit of proving that you're the best, and in order to fight the best, you got to fight the best. In order to be the best, you got to fight the best. It's all about the best fight the best, you know. And I ride with Terence Crawford, for example, and I want Terence Crawford to fight the best in his division, the best there is, to prove that he is the best. And that's the mentality that I have. And the boxing fans that I know in the UK, they have that same sort of mentality as well. So we don't endorse that.
Hey, excuse me 1 second. I just want to put this message out over the airwave. Hey, 78, I did send you a link through the Hangouts, man. Check your Hangouts messages, and also check your email message. I sent it both ways so you could get it either way in case it wasn't working one way. So please check your Hangouts. Yeah, go ahead, brothers. I know Kane, you were talking. I just wanted to get that message out to him that it's been opened up for him to get on.
Oh, no problem, no problem. And the last thing I'll say about, you know, UK fighters in general, as it pertains to the black ones especially, that for those that know me, you know, I have a term for these, you know, UK fighters. I call them the bolt upright lamppost fighters. And it frustrates me and disappoints me when I see my people that are representing me, you know, in the UK, and they're hitting the world stage and they've got no head movement, no upper torso movement. You know me, I'm all about the technical boxing and all of that, right? I've been consistent with supporting Sweet Pea Whitaker. Right now, when you've got people like Dylan White, Daniel Dubois, albeit that you know, Dubois is an up and coming talent, he's looking good and all of that. Daniel Dubois, Riakporhe, Joe Joyce, Anthony Joshua, all of these guys, none of them have head movement, you know, or they don't have an emphasis on head movement or upper torso body movement. You know what I mean? It's a consistent theme. And that frustrates me personally, because it's like, what's going on in these boxing gyms? Why are we not teaching head movement? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to compete at world level, These are the type of fundamentals that you need. You might be able to get away in the domestic scene in the UK by just standing there bolt upright with your hands up on some fighting Irish type thing, you know, and you might be able to be a British heavyweight champion with that, or maybe even a Commonwealth champion with that style. But when you're going to world level, trust me, trust and believe, you're going to need some type of, you know, inside technical boxing skills. And it frustrates me every time I hear about another UK heavyweight that's on the come up. They've all got the same fighting style. That frustrates me more so than anything else, because these people are supposed to be representing me. Not only did they not represent, you know, me and my people where I come from in terms of personality and the way they carry themselves, but their fighting style. So oftentimes when we're talking about this issue specifically, a lot of Americans say, oh, he needs to come over to America and get some training. Oh, if Daniel Dubois came over to America, he'd be a beast. If so-and-so came over to America, he'd be a beast. It's a consistent theme, right? And that's because for whatever reason, they don't teach these types of things. Now, I'm not trying to say that every single UK fighter doesn't have, you know, technical skills. Of course there are. I mean, you know, you had Prince Nassim, he broke all the rules in the book. You got Josh Kelly, he's a flashy little fighter. You got Bouassi, you know, but I'm talking specifically about the heavyweights. That's the one thing that disappoints me the most when it comes to UK fighters.
Yes, indeed. Hey, and also, did y'all hear news about this is coming from the mouth of Santa Cruz and this Tank Davis thing? Do you think Santa Cruz trying to pull some old clout chase and tough talk, knowing that Tank got to fight, or do you think this is some legit thing that will probably go down? He's talking about trying to fill in that Canelo spot. I think it's a whole move.
Well, personally, I think, especially when you talk about the person whose name you just mentioned, um, he doesn't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. This guy, for what he did and what he pulled when he was right there to face Rigondeaux, I have him and Frampton and those guys. You know, um, it's funny because I think I did hear on the tail end of Trill Boxing Talk today where they were discussing, you know, fighters who are like talking with this bravado, and you know, when someone suggests a match against someone who may be competitive against them and they go the other way and they duck and stuff like that, you know, that only really started happening across the sport within the last 10 to 15 years, maybe 10 to 12 years, because there has been a change in the consciousness of the participants of the sport. You know, you used to have duckers. There's always been guys who would duck, but I'm just saying now the art of evading stiff competition at the same time feasting on mediocre opposition to make yourself look great or look better than advertised or whatever. It it didn't seem to become an acceptable thing in mass until like the last 12 to 15 years. And I don't know what caused that. It wasn't Mayweather, because Mayweather was beating quality opposition as he was on his way to his, you know, 49 and 0 and all of that. He was beating good fighters. Manny Pacquiao was beating good fighters as he was going through his career. These guys today are feasting on lower tier opposition and not even French contenders to get their undefeated records and knockout ratios up, not battle tested, not tested to go distance. Because you can look at so many of these guys and ask how many rounds they fought, and it's not a lot because they're getting these stiffs out of there. So that being said, when you take a guy like you have a guy like a Leo Santa Cruz who's fought mediocre opposition himself, and he wants to say things, I think it's exactly, Reggie, what you suggested about it not necessarily clout chasing, but it's self-advertising, because this is the other whole type thing that these guys are doing now. They'll put their name alongside of somebody who is of a decent, you know, opposing challenge, but they don't want to fight the challenge. They just want to put that name there so you could discuss it, be out there in social media talking about it and everything. And it's all superficial bullshit. And then they'll go grab Tom Schwartz. You see what I'm saying? That's what they do. And that shit has to stop. And the people have to stop talking about it. Remember, I said a few weeks ago on my channel, I said, Tank Davis, I'm not going to talk about him till he starts fighting. I don't care. Instagram, he tweeted this, he did that. Who gives a heck? I don't give a damn. He signed to fight such and such. Okay, let's talk about that. All that other stuff don't mean nothing. So Santa Cruz, what he's doing, same shit. Whenever somebody around him and he open his mouth up, just say Guillermo Rigondeaux, and he'll shut the hell up and walk away from you. Hey, I want to welcome 78. He's jumped in with us finally there. What's good, General? How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm good, brother. How y'all brothers doing, man?
It's all good, man.
Doing
It's all
good, doing
good.
good, man.
Oh,
Just
chilling,
chopping it
man.
up this evening.
Yeah, man. I apologize, man. I missed like the last 10 minutes. I asked for a link, and then I've been talking to Black Fight Fan on the phone. I missed the whole what y'all talking about, man. So fill me in real quick.
Well, we kind of kick-started things off. We were talking about that I got to control myself when I say that video release from his show earlier today that Teddy Atlas put out, talking about Dillian White deserving a fight against a WBC champion,
Right,
heavyweight, Deontay Wilder,
right.
and the disrespect that he continues to show for our fighters of color, and how he makes it seem like it's such an atrocity that White hasn't got a title shot against our champion, but he's picking and choosing what he wants to call atrocities in the sport, but it seems always applicable to the brothers.
Right.
Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to speak on that real quick, man. Yeah, that's why I asked for a link. But y'all talking about that. I forgot to bring that up in my show tonight. I got sidetracked. The brother Ticket blessed us with his presence, and I forgot what I was supposed to be talking about. But yeah, Teddy Atlas, man, I seen the little clip that he broke down talking about it's a travesty to Dillian White been the mandatory for 600 days. See, this is all propaganda from Eddie Hearn. Okay, Teddy Atlas should know better, but Teddy Atlas got an agenda. All right, he should know better, but he don't. He like to present himself as this champion of the boxing purist, and he's a real boxing head, and old school. He gonna call it how he see it, walk it how he talk it type shit. But in reality, Teddy Atlas is part of the problem in boxing. You know what I'm saying? He's an American sellout. Okay, he sold out the American heavyweight champion of the world, American fighters. He sell them out on a regular basis for foreigners. This is what he does. In the interest, he disguises this as being fair. Boxing is an international sport. I don't give a fuck what boxing is. You from America, motherfucker. You from America, okay? Boxing is an international sport, but everywhere in the world, people root for their people, except for in America, where somehow, if it's a black American, the shit switch up to now boxing is international. It's international. See what I'm saying? Because motherfuckers don't want to root for no brother. That's how they do. But first of all, the lie that Dillian White has been the mandatory for 600 days is a lie. That's a play on words. Dillian White may have been ranked number 1 by the WBC, possibly for 600 days. And I haven't even went back and checked that. That could be a lie too. I got to go back and check because WBC keep they rankings up there that you can go back and check month by month for So I gotta go check that. That might not even be true, but let's say that's true. Dillian hasn't become the mandatory until he beats Oscar Rivas. Those are the facts. If he beat Oscar Rivas, then he will be Deontay Wilder's mandatory. Prior to that, the WBC already ruled that Dominic Breazeale was the motherfucking mandatory, and Dillian White was the silver champ. If Dillian White had a problem with that, he could have fought Dominic Breazeale instead of fighting Robert Helenius last year. Okay? Last year, Breazeale offered the man an opportunity to fight him. He turned it down to fight Robert Helenius. So the hell with Dillian White, the hell with Teddy Atlas out here spreading propaganda, spreading these motherfucking lies, man. Teddy Atlas full of shit, bro. He full of shit, man. He a scumbag. He a racist. I'm gonna say it. Fuck Teddy. He a racist, bro, because he got a lot of boxing knowledge. That's all good, but the motherfucker racist. Okay. Teddy Atlas said a lot of slick, foul shit about Mike Tyson, even though I don't, I'm a big fan of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, he done went his weirdo path too. But Teddy Atlas has said some strange shit about Mike Tyson. He got this grudge. Mike Tyson that came to this man as an adult, apologized to him, tried to squash the shit with Teddy. Teddy's still taking jabs. Oh, Mike, he's never been in a real fight. Every fight he ever lost was a real fight. Like, man, shut the fuck up. What have you done in your life, bro? You've lived through other motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? You can go get some black kids from the ghetto and then give them assignments. If they win, you take the credit. If they fail, it's on them. Fuck you. I seen you a million times, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You ain't nobody. You ain't no, you know what I'm saying? You a user. You know what I'm saying? White boys coming from the suburban areas down to the ghettos, taking the black kids' talent and trying to throw them out there like, and then you want to take credit for it and shit like that. If they win, then it's on you, or your expertise, like he did with Michael Moore. All them little motherfucking speeches he giving Michael Moore. You know what I'm saying? Michael Moore said it himself, like, man, please, I'm the one who had to go in there and do what the fuck what had to be done to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, get the fuck Teddy Atlas, bro. I'm tired of this dude, man. Motherfucker low-key racist, bro. He one of them, he got an old white supremacist mind state where he think he can fucking, well, I know how to keep these niggas in line. You gotta talk to the niggas this type of way. You gotta be rough with them. You gotta talk to them like this. This is the only thing they understand. You gotta get in their face. You gotta tell the nigga, hey, nigga, get out there and fight, nigga. You understand? This is how you talk to the nigga. And if he can't do it, he's not a real man. Fuck you, Teddy Atlas, bitch ass nigga. That's all I gotta say about it.
Hey, 78,
Yes,
this
sir.
is what I gotta say.
Flames.
There's a reason that sucker got a zipper opened up in the side of his head. Okay? There's a reason. And he ain't learned nothing yet, because when it was opened up, maybe his brain fell out. But I'm here to say it. If ain't nobody else gonna say it, fuck Teddy Atlas and the bullshit that he spew out his mouth. He got famous off of a man of color. Okay? The reason that he's able to sit in front of a microphone right now today is because of Michael Moore, who came up under Emmanuel Stewart. God damn it. Emmanuel Stewart is the one that brought Michael Moore to the championship level, not Teddy Atlas. Because even if Michael Moore didn't get with Teddy Atlas, he could have accomplished exactly what he accomplished. Teddy Atlas is no more than a mouthpiece. And it's time for people to turn this damn mic off.
Oh man, Stewie B, the brother 78 is man, he's making me want to turn up and go in, but the type of shit that I'm gonna come out with, I'm a you know what, matter of fact, I'm gonna cover it on my own stream because this, yeah. I'm gonna save it because I can take this whole conversation into the next direction. All I will say, I'm gonna keep it PG. All I will say is that them guys there, Teddy Atlas, Jim Lambley, Bob Arum, them guys are relics of an old system, you understand? And they can never get over their ideologies of what, because see, boxing is the pinnacle of masculinity, right? It's the physical representation of masculinity. And them guys can never get over the fact that what they've been taught and what they've been teaching themselves hasn't come to fruition, and actually he's been proven to the contrary. You understand? That's as PG as I can keep it. But yeah, I share the same sentiment.
No doubt. I want to say this too, bro. Now, the reason why I call Teddy Ellis a racist comfortably is because of this reason. Now, I'm embarrassed to tell this story because when the brother first told me this story, I didn't believe him. I just kind of pushed it to the side, like whatever. It's just, I was new to the internet. I really didn't get like people sending you private messages. I didn't understand all of that shit. But when I first came to the YouTube boxing world back in 2011, okay, I opened up a Facebook page and all that kind of shit. And this brother hit me up, and he said that I must have had done a video about Mike Tyson, or a matter of fact, this is what it was. I did a video interviewing a man who used to train or used to manage Mike Tyson, used to handle Mike Tyson. And I called it like the real Mike Tyson story or something like that. Video did real good. But because of that video, a dude hit me up on Facebook and said that he used to train at with Customato, Mike Tyson, and Teddy Atlas, right? He said he didn't make it because he was doing stupid shit in the street. He was telling me how him and Mike used to go into the city on the weekends and do dumb shit. But he said that, he got caught up in the game. Okay, he wasn't as good as Mike, all this stuff. He was keeping it 100 with me. He said he didn't take boxing as serious. However, he told me back then that Teddy Atlas told him, he said Teddy Atlas pulled him to the side and said, you got to decide, kid, whether you want to be a man or a nigga. Do you want to be a nigga or a man? Now, when he told me that first, I was like, I don't want to even report this because ain't no evidence this is true, blah, blah, blah. But after watching Teddy Ellis, I believe all that shit. I believe he told that boy that shit, man. I believe he told him, fuck Teddy Ellis, bro. It sound like some shit he'll say. Fuck dude, man.
Man, his background proves it, man. Motherfucker coming from a privileged background, the lifestyle he lived, it's all proven. It's all indoctrinating what his parents taught him, man. To think that he's above any person of color, and that statement that you made about him saying that to that guy is probably an actual fact. It's probably the way they talk in Staten Island, and it's definitely the way they talk in the Catskills. Ain't no black folks up in there, and they were bringing in black folks who were on their last leg of either going to prison or going through whatever the little training camp thing that Costamato had going on down there. So he felt comfortable talking to cats like that, and it plays into what he says about what a black guy can be the greatest guy, the most accomplished guy within a sport, and he'll never receive the praise from a cat like Teddy Atlas. He'll give it to a cat with only 9 fights within the game. Like it's just this bigot, man. But it should have been to a point where somebody should have been punched Teddy Atlas in his mouth. He should have learned when he got a $150 to the face.
I think that everything that we hear from Teddy Atlas is just the PG stuff. Listen, them guys, they're all white supremacists, man. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. This is just the PG stuff that they that either just comes out, unwillingly or willingly. You know what I mean? I believe behind the scenes, all manner of things are said. You know what I mean? Like as it pertains to us, and and the whole 9 yards. So I know what era Teddy Atlas comes from. I know what type of environment he comes from. I know the type of mindset that he has. And, I don't think there is no, he's low key. Nah, I know he's a racist, but it's not good. It's not good for business to be a racist or to say racist things. So you have to package it up, put a nice little bow on it and present it to the people and say little slick shit like, oh, Lomachenko is the greatest thing, is possibly the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali. This is plausible deniability. It's all about presenting a gift with one hand whilst simultaneously taking that gift away and more with interest with the other hand. You know what I mean? So these guys are slick old white supremacist racists. You know what I mean? Just because they haven't said the N word or said anything, any kind of flamboyant, outlandishly racist things, I mean, I see through all of that. I see through all of that. That's what I'm gonna say on this whole Teddy Atlas thing. But fuck him. him and everyone that thinks like him.
No doubt, man. I agree, bro. It's just, I mean, Teddy keeps showing us time and time again what his real agenda is, how he really feels. This dude just like that shit he did with Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford was unbelievable. To be on ESPN in front of the world and have the two best pound for pound fighters in the sport in front of you and shit on them to their face and say, no, I think this other guy from wherever the fuck he from, I think he's better than you. I think he's better. He's got 11 wins and 1 loss, and I think he's shown me more. Like, unbelievable that they even let that happen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't blame them. I'm just saying, like, bro, get the fuck out of here, man. It's so disgusting. You know what I'm saying? That Teddy Atlas play this game like he the champion of real boxing and call it how he see it type shit. He got in the fucking agenda, bro. Teddy Atlas is a scumbag racist, bro. Scumbag racist. He been hating on Deontay Wilder since Wilder started boxing. Factually. If you go, anybody who don't believe me, I want you to go on YouTube and look at Deontay Wilder highlights of his. Just look up Deontay Wilder knockouts. Like it gotta be some videos out there with all Deontay Wilder knockouts put together. Listen to the commentary. Back when Wilder was like 10-0 type shit, you're gonna hear Teddy Atlas in the background hating, talking about, oh yeah, you know, he's fighting a nobody. Motherfucker, he 10-0. Who the fuck he supposed to be fighting? Oh yeah, he's got to do something. All he got is a right hand. He can't do this and that. Like, just a hating ass motherfucker, bro. Meanwhile, Deontay Wilder now is 41-0 with 40 fucking knockouts, undefeated. Teddy Atlas, Paulie Malignaggi, and the rest of these motherfuckers can't stand it, bro. Because everything they've been taught about boxing, Wilder is not supposed to be undefeated. Because by what they've been taught. See what I'm saying? By what they've been taught. They've been taught you gotta throw your punches this way. You gotta have your foot placed this way, that way. That's for you. You wasn't born with the genetics Deontay Wilder got, okay? You wasn't blessed from the gods. You know what I'm saying? Your DNA don't go back to building pyramids, motherfucker. Sit your bitch ass down somewhere. You can't relate to what the fuck we talking about. Don't try to relate to no motherfucking god.
78. There's something to be. There's something to be said about that situation that you mentioned about what Teddy Atlas said to those guys on TV. You know, Muhammad Ali wouldn't have went for that crap. Larry Holmes wouldn't have went for that crap. There would have been a microphone shoved so far down his mouth, they would have been calling for the police and everything to get that man off of him. And Andre Ward and those guys, I lost a lot of respect for them of the lack of way that they handled it. They did not handle that properly. And for specifically Andre Ward, I forever let him go. I don't care what he's accomplished, but he's shown me several things. But that and that situation after Wilder and Fury with his sound bites, and then the fact that he tried to come back publicly and talk to the people as if the people didn't get him right and how he was expressing himself and everything. Oh, like we stupid now, huh? We ain't stupid, but you were stupid enough to reveal who you are. That's why I don't fuck with you no more. You see? Because like you said, hey, my daddy's white. A lot of us got white blood in him, and we didn't ask for it. You understand? But it don't make no damn difference when you run around here and you go on TV and they disrespect you just like they disrespect me. Teddy Atlas will call you the N-word and he'll call me the N-word, and we're just a couple of N-words together as far as he's concerned. But you think because you made a few dollars that'd change your status. No, it don't change anything, man. And you can't make yourself feel better about it. That's why I say I don't give him the respect anymore, because he allowed that man to disrespect him. Why should I respect him? Because that man ain't gonna disrespect me. I don't give a damn who he is, because I stand on what I stand on, and I got a family behind me. So you want to disrespect me, we can go at it right now. You understand? That's Teddy Atlas and anybody like him. But what Andre Ward did, and then he tried to come back and he tried to take luster away from Deontay Wilder and his accomplishments, being a house, you know what? No, you don't get no respect here no more for that.
Right. That's a good point. He let Andre Ward allow Teddy Atlas to disrespect him to his face, but then gonna tell Fred from Barbershop Conversations, "Oh, I've been waiting on you. Oh, I've been waiting to give you a piece of my mind, like a little hoe. You've been waiting on Fred, but Teddy Atlas talking to you in your face. You had nothing to say, but you waiting on Fred. You got something to say to Fred. Man, get out of here, nigga."
And Fred did nothing but give the man good press and everything. Treated him nice, respectful, and everything. But again, that's that mindset. You understand? Slave mentality. He'll fight you and me hard. But for them, he'll lay down and let them walk over his back. No, I don't have no respect for nobody like that. I'm sorry. I'm done with that.
That's the mental castration of some black males, man. That they only do this amongst other white males who are perceived as predominant within the society. They become castrated amongst these fools. And shit, we should never accept them to be back within the brotherhood at all. Like, they'll play us. The type of folks that will sell you out. You get in a situation or a jam, these same type of cats that would turn their back on you, have you stuck up facing whatever amount of time you're facing. But he's just mentally castrated, man. A bunch of these black dudes who give off this aura as being some type of street cats, but the second they walk into the midst of some of these white types is the minute they become castrated and they're no longer man. And it's a sad thing to have to see that publicly, man. It's the saddest situation you can ever see play out in front of a television audience, man. It's sick.
Yeah, sick, man. Hey, man. Hey, brothers. Hey, Stormy man, I want to thank you for having me on, man. I got to take this phone call real quick. I'm going to give it to y'all brothers.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay, bro. Peace. Thanks for coming on.
No doubt.
Peace.
Hey, Odd Fella, man. What else you got for us, Odd Fella, on another subject? Because I know that you are keeping an eye on these other weight classes and everything. I heard you mention Teofimo. You want to talk about what's going on with him this evening?
Indeed. Yeah, he has an upcoming fight against a Japanese character, which is also ranked highly in the sanctioning body, which I believe is, what is it? It's the IBF. The one that he's looking for that title eliminator in, and that is for the winner of this fight is in line for Richard Comey, which my brother from Ghana. But I believe, you know what I mean, it's a bad matchup if it comes to fruition. But I believe it will come to fruition. I don't believe this fight right here is going to be that competitive. I believe it's going to be another showcase fight like we saw in the Edis Tatley in his last fight. You know, dig. So as far as this, we should expect another spectacular showing. The one thing I saw from the weigh-in, he did look a little bit gaunt. He did look a little bit remiss with his physicality. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering how he's gonna rehydrate and how he's gonna look, and be able to fight tomorrow. Hoping this guy gets him out earlier on, because if it goes later in rounds, we'll really see how Teofimo's stamina holds up, because once again he did look a little bit gaunt in the weigh-in.
Yeah, when these guys are trying to starve themselves down at these artificial weights with the aspirations of winning titles in multiple weight classes, with and I still consider that and maybe Reggie might feel the same on this when I make this point. I still consider that cheating yourself in the sport. You're actually cheapening the value of accomplishing things. When you want to go down to artificial weights, or you turn pro at an artificial weight, and you want to make it seem like you grew into a weight class or you moved up and everything like that, when it was basically you were beating and fighting smaller guys, you understand, till you finally max out and fight the real guys that you're supposed to face. Maybe that's even what happened with Keith Thurman, because, you know, Keith Thurman was knocking out a lot of second, if not third class opposition. And then it suddenly stopped when he got to a certain level of competition. The knockouts stopped happening. But maybe Keith Thurman was really a 140 pounder. You understand? And he got up there, and when the maturation started kicking in, it's like, okay, he was maxed out where he is. Because when you talk about him, you don't even equate him with the possibility of moving up to 154, do you? And isn't that awfully strange? Think about it. And people don't talk about those kind of things as much, but it is a conversation that could be had.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do maneuver themselves within the weights and play those games of how you say struggling to get down to the lowest weight, knowing that they're these they're much bigger the guys than the guys who compete in the rankings or whatnot, and they just blow up. But through their crusade of fighting in lower weights, they destroy everything until they go into the naturally developed weight. And yeah, I think it's a con game within the sport. And that's kind of what I think we were talking about it a while ago. I was saying that's kind of the con game that Conor McGregor, being in MMA, was pulling off within the game, dropping down to the lowest weight he can get to, fighting much smaller guys and kind of dominating, and building his name up, in which some of these cats do, building himself into a megastar, looking indestructible. And I think that's what's happening within the sport. Teofimo should have been a 135er.
Yes, sir. Kane, I got a question for you about the fighters over in the UK. Is there much going on in that part of the world in the sport, with guys trying to, drain themselves out at these artificial weights, and then trying to, you know, try to put themselves in position to win multiple titles like the guys in the US are doing? Do your fighters over there participate in that kind of foolishness much, or is that not something that they, really focus on over there?
So the issue that you raise is it's definitely not a US specific issue. I'm not aware of any unique instances or circumstances of fighters doing that. But what you're talking about, I can relate to over here. The same issues that you talk about with some of these guys, draining themselves. Tank is an example, actually, of someone who could probably fight at 54, maybe 60. I'm just playing. But he struggled to. He actually lost his strap on the scales. Who was it? I think it was Pedraza on the Mayweather undercard. And he's struggled to make weight at 130 quite a few times. So, it's not a US specific problem. I don't know much about the domestic scene in Eastern Europe or whatever, but I would imagine it's the same situation over there. It's the same situation over here in the UK. It's just a technique or a strategy that some people will employ for whatever personal gain that they're trying to achieve. So I wouldn't look at it as this is what happens in the US. Do they do it in the UK? It's more of a boxing thing, It's just naturally you're gonna observe that or see that in the US. I can't think of any examples in the UK, but of people, draining themselves like that. But of course, it does happen. Of course it does, you know.
Billy Joe Saunders.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Teofimo is he's a guy that he's looking to have advantages over the guys that he's fighting too, because with him taking on his opponent, it's like, you know, he blows these guys out. So they basically cannon fodder for him. It's more of the same, but he trains down at these weights to fight them, and they're fighting at their natural weights, but he's not a natural person there. And he rehydrates, and he's a lot stronger and more physically imposing. And they've determined that, oh, this is what can sell. This is what will make you look great, make you look, you know, like a hot prospect, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I see through all that foolishness, you know, and this kind of thing will stop when the guys who get selected or start taking their craft a little more serious. You know, just like a Andy Ruiz Jr. You know, Andy Ruiz Jr. was like given a call, you know, and he was ready to meet that opportunity. There are not a lot of guys out there in the sport like that right now, but it is a breath of fresh air to see that he was up to the task. Because man, I love the fact that he was able to take that opportunity and turn it around. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was not supposed to go down that way. When he got clipped and he went down, that was supposed to be the end. But thank God it wasn't, you know?
Yeah. So another example, Reggie Owen says, BJS. Yeah, so Silly Ho, he even fought at what's it called? A cruiserweight. He had a bullshit little fight at cruiserweight. Yeah, I said cruiserweight. And at the time he was a middleweight, he was fighting at middleweight. So that's an example. But in the UK, in the north, what's his name? Los Dorkin the Pimpin, he's from up that way. They used to call him Ricky Fatten, for the way that he blew up in between fights. He would actually get fat, you know what I mean? So it's not a US specific thing. This, I mean, what about Spence? Spence fights at 47. You know, brothers joke and say that, you know, he'd be comfortable. Well, not even joke. He'd be comfortable at fighting at middleweight. You know, so yeah, it happens across the board.
Hey Reggie, you've been a little quiet, bro. What do you got to say? Anything to contribute on that topic, or you want to introduce a newer topic?
Yeah, I would like to introduce the which fight I'm looking at, the you guys what's the name, Figueroa about, man. And I hear
Yeah, go ahead.
a lot of cats that are really thinking that Figueroa has action in this game, thinking he is what he used to be. My thing with Figueroa is I think he lacks confidence within himself, and he kind of made a statement that shows me that he lacks his confidence. I don't even know why he made the statement, and it was based on his prediction of the fight. And he stated to the person conducting the interview that if he can stay healthy, he can, he went about talking about he can get you guys up out of there. But here is health becoming an issue. It's always been the issue that plagued Omar Figueroa in this fight. I think that's something that's going to kind of work against him. Is something that you guys is going to go down in here and break this guy down, because it brings up the fact that he's a fragile fighter going into this ring. He has these shoulder injuries, these hand injuries, and I just don't think he stands a chance in there against you guys. You guys is hungry. He is, kind of reached the crust of the mountaintop when he faced Porter in there, and what's his name is just another obstacle in the way that I think you guys is going to go in there and put the mash on Figueroa. A lot of people are going to be upset with the way that you guys treats Omar Figueroa in tomorrow's fight. And they don't know I didn't know that I didn't know until today seeing the weigh-ins that Molina ain't in the damn fight against Lipinets. And that's all I got on that one.
So Ugas. I felt like he didn't employ the best game plan against Sean Porter. That was very disappointing. Now, as a Cuban, you know, Ugas doesn't fight like a Cuban. I don't have a lot of high praise for Ugas. I'm not saying he's a bum or anything. I just think he's a confirmed B-level fighter. And as I say, against Porter, he employed the wrong game plan. Now, with this fight against Figueroa Jr., I don't, to me, this is a 50-50 fight because I don't know how Ugas is going to look in this fight. I genuinely don't. I don't know whether he's going to sit back and look for the counter or is he going to come forward? And Figueroa cuts off the ring pretty well, so I'm just curious to see what happens. I don't really know what to make of it. This is going to be a calibration fight, and when I say calibration fight, it's just one of those fights that will help me kind of understand, you know, where both of these guys are at by facing each other. But yeah, you know. We'll have to see. I didn't know about Molina and Lipinets. So is that fight actually off now? They're not actually fighting on the card?
Yeah, they had another opponent that came in for the weigh-ins. So Lipinets is still fighting, but there's someone else that stepped in.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't see the weigh-in, but that's interesting. So that's on the Keith Thurman undercard, I believe. Keith Thurman. In actual fact, that card is stacked. Okay, we got Luis Neri. He's a beast. Lipinets is fighting Caleb Plant and Efe Jabbar is also on that same undercard. So that's a real tight card. But the catch is it is on pay-per-view. And it's on box office in the UK as well. So make of that what you will.
You know, with that comment that you made about you guys, you know, about being his boxing IQ and being knowing if he was necessarily a fighter that could do certain things or like fighting the wrong type of fight against Sean Porter. See, I think Reggie will agree with me with this point also. This is one of those things that I try to stress when I'm talking about the fighters of today. We have a lot of physical specimen out here. We guys who are capable. They bring certain skill sets, they bring certain athleticisms, they bring certain physical dynamics. However, in the sport of boxing, which has always been known as the sweet science, there's one part that is grossly missing with a lot of these guys, and that's the boxing IQ, you see. And when you use someone for an example, your Dennis Ugas, when he fought Sean Porter, he did some things at the end of every round that made you wonder, like, why did he wait to the last 15 seconds to do this? Why didn't he do it earlier in the round? And that's the acumen. That is the boxing IQ, that how low it is for a person who doesn't understand how to control the tempo of a fight, what to do, or be mentally aware of what it will require to captivate the judges to consider giving you a round. And if you think just because the last 15 seconds you did something specifically, that's going to cover the first, 2 minutes and 80 seconds. I mean, come on. It's not going to work that way for you. And even going into Saturday night's fight with Pacquiao and Thurman, there are people out here of the belief that Thurman can box Pacquiao and run him into something a la Marquez and things like that. But when has Thurman shown you that type of boxing acumen? He hasn't. He's going to get it for one night. At that level of the sport, that doesn't happen in one night like that. So it really exposes to a great degree what's missing amongst a lot of these fighters. And that doesn't fall on trainers all the time. That falls on the matchmakers as well, because you're not putting the guy in where he can learn things, where he can go through a little bit of a fog or a cloud and recognize that a fog or a cloud or a stumbling block or a door that's closed that needs to be opened, you need to find the key that's going to fit that lock and open it up so you can go through it. If you're not put in those type of scenarios, you don't advance. You don't become better. You don't graduate to another level or plateau. But you can have a title all day long. But as soon as someone who has done those things come along, bye-bye title. You know, and that's one of those things that is not spoken of enough in the sport. I did a video or a stream, I think it was video or stream, where I talk about step up fights. Step up fights are very important. It's part of honing your craft. And we're not seeing enough crossroad fights. And crossroad fights don't mean all the time that somebody is old and this is going to be their last shot or something like that. Crossroad fights are fighters that are on a collision course because they're advancing through their careers and their paths will cross, sometimes more than once. But you got guys today that when they get on a collision course, they make sure they take detours. Some of them even jump out of the weight class to avoid opposition. Man, this is like not the sport that I grew up on today. It is not.
So would you say that with what you said about UGAS, your observation of UGAS kind of taking the whole round off and then waking up at the last seconds of the round to put in, you know, a little bit of work and then thinking that was enough to win the round? Would you say that same theory applied to Kovalev and what's his name? Who did Kovalev fight last? The second time. What's his name? Alvarez. Yeah. Would you say that? Yeah. Would you say that the same thing applied there as well with Alvarez?
I wouldn't say Alvarez fight that's what applied. Two things happened with the Alvarez fight that made me feel very funny about that fight. One, it looked like Alvarez did not come to compete and fight in that rematch. It just looked like he laid down. And I stopped short of saying he threw the fight, but he definitely didn't come to win. At no point during that rematch did he attack Kovalev to see if his chin was still subject or suspect. At no point during that rematch did he actually try to say physically with his physical movement, his physical imposition, say, guess what, buddy? The title is mine now. He didn't do those things. If anything, he stood around, let Kovalev get shots off, basically blocked, stepped around and moved a little bit, but offered no resistance, no turning back the tide. And to me, that's quitting. He could be on the take. You could call it a lot of other things, but I know what I was looking at, because that's not the way he fought in the first fight. He threw punches. They landed and he got results. The rematch, he didn't even let his hands go. So how can you get results? So no, that's not the same as Ugas. Ugas, it looked like two things going on with him. One, you have to kind of wonder, what was his conditioning like? Because was he physically fit to go 12 rounds? Maybe he was fighting such like that because his conditioning was bad and he didn't want to expend himself? Or is he mentally deficient, meaning that he got in there under the lights and he knew what he was supposed to do, but he couldn't think his way through. He couldn't, he couldn't get himself to physically execute what was necessary. And if that's the case, you got bigger problems because those type of situations don't just go away. They have to be worked through.
Absolutely.
Take a minute to go to the chat. Star
Yeah,
City J says, I had Ugas winning against Porter. If that 12th round slip is ruled a knockdown, but only watched that only once. Definitely should have been more aggressive. I agree. Star City, that comment, it didn't come down to that though, the knockdown. It was everything he did for 12 rounds. He didn't fight a complete round once. Had he done that, he could have swayed judges and got a different decision. But he didn't. He kind of like wouldn't let his hands go, stalked and stalked and stalked. And then when it got inside the 20 seconds to go in the round, he would try to corner Sean and get stuff off. But my thing was, why wasn't he trying to do that earlier in the rounds, during the middle rounds? That doesn't mean he had to fight the whole round like that, but you should definitely put in more than 20 seconds. If you can't put in more than 20 seconds of effort in rounds, I have to question your conditioning or your mental faculties. Seriously. All right, fella, you got something?
No, you can keep cooking. Actually, in the chat, Muhammad is the ones in here saying, Stormy B, man, you talking to AJ? You talking about? Actually, no, we talking about Ugas right now. Muhammad is the one, and
Okay, yeah.
Star City J, he just said, I don't disagree at all. Laughing out loud, I was saying the same thing live.
Yeah, man, it's funny. The mental aspect is greater than people want to give credit to. It's like it's a huge factor, a huge factor. I remember when I was in grade school and we used to do what they used to call back then. I don't know what they call them in school now, but we would have shows that they call assemblies. They're little plays or acts that, the school would get together and have on a specific night. It's a big thing. Your parents will come and you have a little play you act out or whatever. Man, when I was a kid back in like 5th and 6th grade, I had stage fright like a mug, man. I couldn't get on. I would like literally like be panicky, You get on the stage, you have to sing a song and stuff. It was like, man, that was not my cup of tea, you know. And I had to work through that, had to get over that. And it took a while, but I was able to overcome it. But you know, that's something that so imagine someone, and I'm admitting to this, right? For something that I had to work through. Imagine someone, you got a fighter, you working with him and everything. And he's got this thing like in the gym, he looked like $1 million baby, right? Well, you put him in a match and he won't let his hands go. There's a problem there. You got to work through that. You got to bring him through so he can be able to do something in his craft. But if you can't identify that, you're going to go through succession after succession of repeat performances. Hey Reggie, you kind of quiet, bro. Are you okay? You real quiet. I'm looking to
Yeah,
hear from you.
I can't interrupt while you cooking. I'm sitting back listening. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
I got something to build on that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what you're saying is absolutely right, and um, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can be the best boxer in the world. You can have all the technicals. You listen. You could be Pernell, Sweet Pea Whitaker, James, Tony, Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, all rolled up into one. But if your mind is not right on the night, you can hold it L. That's how it is. We've seen people have mental breakdowns in the ring, live in the fight, right? It happens. Boxing, 70% of boxing is all in the head. The rest of it is physical. You know what I mean? If you once you're in shape and you know you've got your muscle memory and your boxing skills, the rest of it is all mental. You understand? It's having that mental fortitude to push through certain uh, um, difficulties that you're going to encounter during a fight, right? But if your mind is not right on the night, and that's why a lot of people, you know, they keep the women well away from camp, because women are a big distraction. You know what I mean? Both physically and psychologically. You know, you can't be halfway through camp and then find out someone's banging your missus. You understand that that's going to have an impact on your psyche, and it could mess up your whole. You know, you start going into the fight looking like AJ versus Ruiz. You know, looking all weird and shit. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have your mind right. You know, you got to be 100% focused and dedicated on this. It's not just about the physical. The mental is very, very important.
I agree, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. I second that, and just to kind of segue into the whole AJ is actually up in Nigeria for a change, and getting mobbed by the fans over there, getting mobbed by his by the Nigerian people, uh, men and females alike. You know, dig. So one thing I think that this trip does for him is restores his psyche, gives him some much needed confidence that I believe he's lost. You know what I mean, or it's dwindled. You know what I mean, over the months, even before he got into this fight with Ruiz, he went into that fight in the lead up looking like a different guy, looking like he almost overwhelmed by the whole U.S. experience. So hopefully this will maybe restore some of his confidence and restore that mentality that we're here talking about, because it's so vital to a boxer in order for them to be successful.
Absolutely. I think that trip is a great psychological restore for him as well. And I think he's doing a lot of things to unpack uh, uh, what happened to him mentally. He's not declining mentally. He's accepting it. He's taking it head on, and that's to help him avoid any of the depressing factors that usually occur when fighters, you know, lose titles as such. Is that they go into depression. This guy has found a way of really decompressing without having to go through a state of depression, the state of shock. He's just walking in a normal light as if nothing ever happened, and he's looking to get right back into the tune of championship contention, and it's a great sign from him. And that's also what puts Abel to come out and tell Andy Ruiz he needs to get up out of that superstar shit and start focusing back on boxing. And I think that's really, really real, because a lot of people are starting to reach out to Andrew Ruiz early on. It's a great thing to do. You know, you're gonna take the Disney route. I'm going to Disney type route at a huge accomplishment. But at some point, you have to turn it off, because everybody's pulling this guy left and right. And at some point, it has to be pulled off. Or who knows, maybe they are in the gym. But AJ is doing the proper thing to get right back on track. But that doesn't guarantee him a win. But lucky his mind is in the right place, and he's looking to get right back in there. That Africa trip was huge.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll say about that whole thing with AJ is this. They totally handled the guy's career incorrectly. Even for the way that they were bringing him along with the opponents, he should have fought in America way before that fight. He should have fought in America way before that fight. It's just like we get guys here that are pros. They'll go fight in Australia. They'll go fight in the UK. They'll go fight somewhere, and it don't even have to be for a championship title. But it's it's the experience. You gain the experience of one traveling to a hostile environment or a foreign environment. Two, you get a chance to get away from your normal surroundings and you can focus, because you're away from home. You're dialed in. You might fight a little with a little more resolve, a little more inspiration because you're representing. I come from here and I don't want people to think that we're punks, this and that. But it's like AJ, since they were going to treat him the way they did, they could have set up a couple of fights against a couple of those stiffs he fought over here, to get him in the pond of the U.S. to get familiar with the area. And it could have made a wealth of a difference, but they didn't. And doing it now, yeah, it's like he's traveling now, and that's okay, but still got to fight, still gonna get hit upside the head, you know. And my concern with him is this: the way he looked in that fight, they've been doing some stuff to him in the gym, and they've been holding it back. They ain't told us what's been happening. It didn't just happen there, okay? That was a telltale sign. That kid is really not that good.
Mm. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm one of the guys that feel that he shouldn't even take this rematch immediately. Um, if not, take a break. He should come in with a lesser opponent. You know what I mean, and continue building your prospect status up, because literally the UK public, some of the AJ fanboys were correct in saying that he is just a prospect. You know what I mean, and he just happened to collect the belts at the right time. You know what I mean, when they were available with prospect, you know what I mean, type fights, so to speak. Other than the Klitschko fight, I really can't call that a prospect fight, but that was that fight right there. It went back and forth, you know what I mean. And if it wasn't for the poor advice from Klitschko's brother Vitaly, AJ probably would have been already had his first loss, you know what I mean. So yeah, AJ, there is definitely an argument to say that AJ isn't as great as he's being hyped up to be, but I still think that he has a chance, be, being able to deal with Andy Ruiz in this upcoming rematch.
Yeah, and I think they want him to fight this rematch right away because they feel like the the luster of having those titles, the possession of that's slipping away. They won't get that control back ever or whatever. But this is the other dangerous part of that. And I said this about him continuing to like duck Deontay Wilder and not fight quality opposition. I said he was going to mess around, and a year from now, the young prospects will have caught up to where he is, and he'll still end up having to defend a title against one of them, or he's going to vacate titles that whichever one of them becomes a contender for, and he don't want to fight him, he'll give that belt up. And that's Dubois and Joyce and F.A. Ajaba. Those guys, a year from now, they'll be ready for him. And this is what happens when you play those games. He's held those titles so long, but hasn't developed any since acquiring them, that these other men are passing him by. And to that notion, Keith Thurman did the same thing with feigning the injuries and everything and not fighting quality opposition. And other guys had a chance to develop and catch up. And now they're there, knocked on the door, kicked it open, and now it walked in the living room. And now he trying to slip out the back door. You understand? It's like, that's exactly what has happened. Remember when he said, well, when Earl Spence gets a belt, then he could come and see me. Well, Earl saw him and raised the stakes. What did Keith do? Went up into the Himalayas somewhere playing bongos and smoking joints and, playing flutes and stuff. And anytime somebody say something about Earl Spence, he's talking about his elbow or whatever. And I'm injured right now and whatever, dude. Get a belt up. Come back and win it back. If you that good, you think you as good as you think you are, go and get that belt up and say, hey, I'll come back and get my title when I'm healthy. But no, that's how you know he bluffing. Reggie, I'm still waiting on you, man. Where you at?
No, I'm listening to y'all cook. And then we got that fight about to come on too. But no, I think I don't know. I just can't. I like what AJ's doing. I like everything that he's doing as far as trying to work on the things that he's flawed at. And I don't know. He just seems to be doing the proper things, or at least he's releasing video that makes it seem as if he's doing the proper things. And but skill wise, I still favor my dude Andy Ruiz in that bout. But I don't know. I just can't wait to see what goes down when these dudes do go back in there and thump it out. Want to see what the work that he's putting out visually that he's doing. I want to see if it's really being done and if it's going to be utilized within that ring. But I like what AJ's doing when it comes to suffering such a shocking defeat and how the guy doesn't seem down. But that's also can plays a part to where maybe that he really didn't give two craps about the sport like we expect most fighters to be about these things. That could be the other side. That's the other thing now that I've thought about that. He may not care about this damn sport. It's just an opportunity that end up working beyond where I think they thought they'll take it to. But I don't know. I just can't wait, man.
I don't know. I have to disagree with that because some of the knowledge he possesses when it comes to assessing other fighters and watching some of the fighters from yesteryear, I think he does have some type of care for the sport. I think it was just one of these cases of maybe he just underestimated who Andy Ruiz was. You know what I mean? If Parker was able to narrowly defeat him, I believe that Ruiz won that fight as well. But if Parker was able to narrowly defeat him, AJ thought it was going to be a cakewalk for him. You know what I mean? With the size discrepancy and whatnot. So, and it's not like Andy Ruiz got a bunch of world beaters on his record as well. But his style does suggest, you know what I mean, when you look deeper into it, which they probably didn't do, but when you look deeper into it, you see that there is a style conflict between Ruiz and AJ, and the Ruiz's style is all wrong for a guy like AJ, a guy with fast hands that can punch in between AJ's combinations and whatnot. That's able to, you know what I mean, settle in that pocket. You know what I mean. That's able to take a punch, get hurt, get back up, recover, and do those things. So yeah, most definitely, that's a bad style matchup. But once again, I'm seeing in the chat people, some of the men are talking about Oscar Rivas and this Dillian White fight. And speaking of guys that are don't seem to be taking this serious, is Dillian White seems questionable, coming in 15 pounds more than his last fight against Derek Chisora. Yeah, he can't come in at a whopping 259 pounds this afternoon against his so-called interim WBC heavyweight title fight against Oscar Rivas, whereas Rivas is looking very muscular, but yet, you know what I mean. But yeah, we've seen him this size and be able to keep his stamina. The I don't know. It remains to be seen about Dillian White. He's gassed before, and once again, he's 15 pounds heavier. I believe this will be a factor in tomorrow's fight, and I'm hoping, once again, I'm hoping that this will be enough for Oscar Rivas to repeat history again and get him in those late rounds like he did Brian Jennings.
Yeah, for sure. With regards to AJ, no one would have anticipated or expected. What's his name again? What's the guy's name again? My mind's just gone blank.
Who, Andy Ruiz?
Andy Ruiz, sorry. Yeah, Andy Ruiz. No one would have anticipated Andy Ruiz to have beat AJ. I mean, even now, I'm no AJ fan. I've been, the biggest critic of Anthony Joshua for the past 5 years, especially in the UK. You know what I mean? I've had Uzis, shotguns, all types of ammo aimed at me, and I still hold my ground when it comes to AJ. This guy is overhyped and overgassed, and I knew that this day was coming. So with all that being said, even I didn't, predict that Andy Ruiz was going to be the guy to unravel AJ. But the signs were there. The signs were there from the Takam fight. And then I saw it also in the last fight against Povetkin, in terms of his body language and where his mind is at. With that being said, I think AJ can definitely beat Ruiz. And it feels like to me a lot of people are really, really hyped and stoked about the fact that, Ruiz being, fat and overweight, beating, someone like AJ who's kind of trademark is his physique, right? Captain UK, he's got this, Iron Man physique. That's kind of a trademark of him. Just the optics of that is polarizing. And I think a lot of people are kind of, they're kind of putting a lot more stock into Ruiz than even he deserves. Now, Ruiz, his loss against Parker was questionable, people say, and he's got a very good amateur background, which to me equates to experience. So I'm not saying Ruiz is a bum or anything like that. I'm saying that I think the situation with Ruiz and AJ was more so down to AJ's psyche, his mentality. Sorry, not mentality, his mind not being in the right place, because he just didn't look right. He didn't look right before the fight. When the bell rung, AJ's on the back foot. What's he on the back foot for? You ain't even tasted nothing. You're sitting on the back foot like you've just been clipped or something. I've never seen AJ begin the fight on the back foot. So that's another alarm bell there. So I think in the rematch, AJ can definitely beat Ruiz, but the biggest thing that it's going to come down to is his mind in the right place? Was it because it was the fact that he was in New York, he's in a foreign country, you know, as Stormybman was saying, did all of that play a part on it? And maybe he had an anxiety attack. I don't know. It's all speculation. But the way I see the rematch going is AJ could blow Ruiz out of there within 3 rounds. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see AJ just blowing Ruiz out of there within 3 rounds, and then watch all these new school Andy Ruiz fans start talking about, oh yeah, well, I never liked him anyway. He wasn't shit anyway. Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden they're gonna start backtracking. But at the same time, you know, I can see Andy Ruiz putting on another repeat performance on AJ. You know, to me, it all comes down to what is he gonna turn up on the night? It is the Anthony Joshua pre Vladimir Klitschko, who was who had the sense of confidence. You know, he was coming forward and things like that. Is he going to turn up on the night? And that's what I think it's going to come down to.
Yeah. It's one of those things, definitely, especially with Ruiz not putting in the focus or the type of focus that it requires to come out and defend what was recently garnered. So I could see something like that taking place too. It's just that the state of the game is such now that the quality between the combatants is very close between all of these guys. There's not a huge divide or separation. It really comes down to, you know, you could get a guy who trained like gangbusters for a training camp, and he come out and look like something, and then the next time out he looks like crap. You know, that's the state of the game now. Who really has that legacy of consistency and taking it to a newer level or a higher level or whatever? You know, makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
What
So,
I wanted to did you have something else you wanted to say just now, Kane?
oh, I was just gonna just build off of what Oddfella was saying about Dylan White being 15 pounds heavier than when he fought what's his name? My mind is going blank, man. Flipping, what's his name? Chisora. Yeah, they remember what I said earlier about Dylan White gassing out 3 rounds. Remember I told you that Kane, one of them ones said 3 rounds before Dylan White starts gassing out, and all the sweat's gonna be dripping off his fat ass titties and off his back, and he's gonna start trying to lean all over Rivas, and he'll throw a few lazy right hands, a few lazy left hands, and if they connect, well, shit, man, anyone can get it. You know what I mean? He might get the W. But remember, I told you, I'm giving him 3 rounds before he starts breathing out of the mouth heavy, and his boxing IQ and his technique starts to go out the window, and he starts trying to clinch excessively and all of that.
Well, I've watched some recently. I've watched some tape of Rivas, and one thing he seems to have is he gets a desired result after hitting people on top of their head. You know, it's like Mike Tyson had done that early in his career. I don't know if they train for that, like Customato, and you know, the certain you have certain nerves up around in the top of your head, you know, over your ear and for the back and things like that, and even at the crown of your top of your head. It's like when guys hit you in that sweet spot, it can make your legs do a lot of funny things. And Rivas seemed to have that kind of power that if he goes upside your head and he catches you right, he could get that desired result. And it's going to be interesting because he's a smaller guy. Is he going to let White wrap him up? You know, because White got some long arms. Is he going to let him or allow him? And since he's carrying 15, you know, extra pounds of boo boo in him, he needs to go to that body, huh? bang the drum, bring those hands down and come up top. So, but it comes down to that. It comes down to that IQ. I told you, it's like you can never rule that out. You can go to school every day. How many guys you know you went to school with? They show up every day. They got a backpack and everything. Then they asking you, "Hey man, can I borrow a pencil? Hey man, you got an extra piece of paper? Hey man, can you share your book?" It's like, dude, what you coming to school for? You don't bring nothing. It's like you just show up.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you ever went to class with guys like that? Man, they make you mad. Always tapping you on your shoulder. Tap, tap, tap. It's like, what you want now? You know? Dang.
Yeah, I should snap on cats like that, man.
They're out there, dude. I'm serious. That's why I said it. It's like if you didn't go to school with somebody like that, you must have went to a really, really small school. Shit. Them guys was everywhere, man. Every grade. Some of them were females too. Shit. It's the same thing. And worst part about it, some of them have become adults now and they run in your countries and your cities and everything. Politicians. There you go. That's who they are. Hey, well, listen here, man. We're at that last part of the show, and I want to take this time out where we can speak, each and every one of us. I would like to have each and every one of us give recollections of the unfortunate passing of a huge personality in the sport, a great boxer, a master boxer, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, who died tragically earlier this week when he was hit by a car, an automobile accident crossing a street. What do you guys remember about Sweet Pea Whitaker, and what did he, in his accomplishments in the sport, what did it mean to you? I want to start with Odd Fella.
Indeed, definitely Sweet Pea Whitaker is a goat out there. I always felt that he wasn't spoken about enough. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know if it was because maybe because it's one of those things because he's was a defensively slick black fighter, but he definitely was a goat and fought some of the best. You know what I mean? A lot of Hall of Fame fighters. In fact, um, I can vividly remember the fight against De La Hoya, which he uh, Whitaker wasn't really a welterweight, you know what I mean? But he was his skill set was so good that, you know what I mean, he was able to, you know what I mean, travel weights. This is what you call a true pound for pound type of fighter, you know, dig. And so he was able to travel up weights and be, you know what I mean, highly competitive as well as beat, you know what I mean, guys like I believe like De La Hoya, but he ended up falling short against other welterweights such as like Felix Trinidad, who was just another big heavy big welterweight of his time. You know what I mean? Another phenomenon of his time, so to speak. So definitely Pernell Whitaker was a defensive wizard. I refer to one of them one's video that he dropped earlier this week, and all the nice little the highlight clips of his defensive wizardry, just being able to utilize his head movement and his upper torso movement to evade and dodge punches is a sight to see. You know what I mean? And it should be taken into account and utilized by more fighters today. Um, Once again, like this is a goat, and we should be speaking of Sweet Pea and more, you know what I mean, with the rest of the, you know what I mean, goats of the sport. And it's a shame that it had to come to this day where, you know what I mean, he's passed or he got killed in a car accident, that now that uh, more people are talking about him when we really should have been talking about him before all this happened. So rest in power, you know what I mean, to Sweet Pete Winnaker. I really can't divulge in too much of his early career because I was like a, you know what I mean, I was a young lad at that time, teenage, you know what I mean. But as far as like his career in the welter, when he was touching in the welterweight divisions, I definitely really peeped his, you know what I mean, loved his style, and definitely have a utmost respect for his game. So once again, rest in power, Pernell Winnicker. And one last thing I wanted to say, touching on the whole issue with Charlemagne the God from the Breakfast Slop, absolutely disgusting sediment coming out of Charlemagne the God, referring to Pernell Winnicker. I'm not gonna repeat his sediment, but I just want to state that, you know what I mean, that, you know what I mean, there's no place for him to be talking about a goat like that, you know what I mean. So anybody that heard that, whatever, once again, we have some we have that energy for Teddy Atlas. We should have that energy, the same type of energy for guys like Charlemagne the God, who's disrespecting, you know what I mean, some of our biggest goats in the sport as well as in our community. So yeah, shame on Charlemagne the God for his sentiments. But once again, I'll bring it back. Rest in power, Pernell Sweet Pea Winnicker.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Bless
Yes,
up, bud
sir.
fella.
Much respect with that, with your sentiments that you shared, odd fella. And I don't know, have you always lived in Canada all your life? But when you talk about the sport of boxing, um, how did your fellow countrymen take to him as a fighter when you do talk about the sport of boxing there?
That's a good question because the sport of boxing doesn't get talked much about. It doesn't really get talked much over here. It's not a main sport that people are talking about. I happen to be blessed with a partner at work, a Filipino cat that actually, and I mean, really follows the sport. Same way. Salute to E Man out there. You might be listening at the end of the day, but other than that, you know what I mean. Even in the barbershops, boxing isn't a major topic. Maybe it's coming around more so now that the heavyweight division is more popping and whatnot. But as far as your average Canadian knowing who Sweet Pea Winnicker is, and being able to discuss his fights, and you know what I mean, his fights of the yesteryear, that's few and far between, to be real. So I can't even really give you accurate uh, uh, assessment of how people really feel about this untimely death. Other than that, uh, Canadians are still, you know what I mean. Other than I would have to say, because I'm from the English speaking part. I'm from Ontario, Hamilton to be exact, and that's just you know what I mean, just a hop, skip, and a jump from Toronto. But the major boxing scene in Canada is actually, it lives in Quebec, and that's where you see with this Oscar Rivas. He's based out of Quebec. His other compatriot from Colombia, Eladir Alvarez, based out of the same gym out of Montreal, Quebec. You know, there you guys like Jean Pascal, Adonis Stevenson. Castillo Clayton was based out of there for a little bit. So a lot of these guys, David Lemieux, a lot of these guys that are making, Canadians that are making onto the world stage, are coming out of Canada, coming out of Quebec, you know, dig. So maybe a Quebecer or a guy out of Montreal would be better to ask, you know what I mean, as far as what they feel about what Sweet Pea is, because the conversations around here just ain't about that, to be real.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. It's like, that you can actually take a piece of the sport and have it in an area where it's like it's not really revered or as popular or whatever like that. But I did have that type of consideration when, because like when you talk about the Olympics and who participates in the Olympics, Sweet Pea was a huge part of that story as well. He was probably one of the most dynamic amateurs during his career as an amateur that the U.S. produced. He and Mark Breland, awesome fighters, man. Um, I would like to go to boxing conversations with Reggie Owens next. What can you share with us about your Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker experience?
And he was the first guy I ever see display style and grace, man. Coming up in that era right as I was a kid and watching the guy, the shift transition the way he did, bring beauty to what defensive fighting looks like, what offensive fighting looks like, showmanship inside the ring. Man, he brought all those elements to the sport of boxing. It was very, very entertaining. He made incredible fighters look like ordinary fighters. Just the way he was treated with some of the controversial decisions in which most people believe were wins by him, where he gets the draws and even the losses. But him to even keep his head held high and continue to move on through the sport. He never let the sport of boxing's decision making get to him. He continued on with the sport, continue to climb and be a shining light within the sport. And it was crazy because I was talking to D Style, I think it was Thursday or Friday we were speaking behind the scenes, and we were bringing up that fight about Purnell. And then when I think Worldberg is the first person I hear reporting on it, man, I was trying everything to not make it true, like looking to see if it could have been a false report, things like that. But it was, I don't know, I just hate to hear that to happen to, greats. But like I say, greats always live, they never die. So he's accomplished that. He's a great. His life and legacy will forever live on. So, but just hate to hear him go out that way, man. But in Charlemagne, fuck a clown like that. He's a nobody. Hopefully, he reaps what he sowed from that. Not in death, but hopefully somebody you know teach him why you shouldn't say things like that. But that's all I have on that one.
Yeah, much respect with that, man. Kane, my brother, I save you for the last because I know, even looking at your avatar, that this man, this great fighter, really had an impression upon you. And I've known, I also from following your channel and a lot of the content that you put up and a lot of references that you make and within the sport. Uh, you can now have the airway here on the Stormybman channel, particularly because you come from another part of the world. There also share with us what this great fighter meant for you, and your feelings about his accomplishments, and also where you found yourself as when you got the bad news this week with what happened. So please, the mic is open for you. I will mute mine and allow you to share your experience.
Oh, much respect, bless up for that, Stormy B. And I wanna say I appreciate the sentiment, from both the Odd Fella and Reggie Owens. Um, you know, Sweet Pea to me goes down as one of the greatest black men to ever live. You understand? I put him up there in terms of achievements and what he means to me, with people like Malcolm X, Khalid Muhammad, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Bob Marley, you know, people like that. Okay, so that's how I feel about Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea was old enough to be my father. You understand? So when I got the news, when I heard the news, I was relaxing in bed with my lady, and you know, I was having a good time. You know, I was ready to start the day, and we was just talking. I got a little bit bored, so I pick up my phone and I see Hangouts and all types of other stuff lighting up. The fuck is going on here? Fuck is messaging me now? Sweet Pea, RIP, all this and that. Thinking, what a blouse and skirt. Nah, you ain't talking about Sweet Pea, man. You must be mad. You must be talking about that Ghanaian guy who goes by the moniker Sweet Pea. What's his name? Frederick Lawson or whatever his name is. Can't remember his name, but he ain't talking about Sweet Pea. Anyway, let me look at some emails. I come back. I'm like, damn, they can't be talking about Sweet Pea. I rose up. I pushed the woman off the bed. I made some phone calls. No one's got any information. It's all up in the air. And I'm thinking, nah, man, this is a fucked up year. I can't believe this shit. For me, in terms of Free Sweet Pea, I'm gonna start at 1984. You got the US Olympic team. This is, in my opinion, probably the best assembly of not Black American, but American boxers that they ever put together. Okay, so in this team, it's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters, you know, this assembly of fighters in this US Olympic team. I mean, you had people like Mildred Taylor, Steve McCrory, you had flipping Mark Breland, you had Frank Tate, Henry Tillman, Terrell Biggs. You know what I'm saying? You had people like Evander Holyfield. This was an all-star team, you know, and of course Pernell Whitaker. I believe Pernell Whitaker was the captain of the US Olympic team in 1984, which took place in Los Angeles. And a lot of these guys went on to win medals, especially gold medals and things like that. Now, I do want to put an asterisk in there to say that the Cubans didn't participate in 1984 because they were protesting. Probably something to do with the Cold War and that kind of thing, because it, you know, it was a hot topic, you know, communism, capitalism, and that kind of thing. Sweet Pea, you know, he got gold. He turned pro in 1984, and he fought. What's that guy's name? What's his name again? Ferren Cormu, he was 11-0. You know, so most people start their careers fighting journeymans. You know, journeymans will have like, you know, 20 fights, 20 losses, that kind of thing. Sweet Pea didn't. He started and he fought a guy who was 11-0, you know. And in his 11th fight, he fought Roger Mayweather, who was an established fighter. You know, Roger Mayweather was known as the Black Mamba. He was known as the Mexican assassin. You know what I mean? And Sweet Pea fought Roger Mayweather in his 11th fight. You know, so you know this is the mentality that he has. He didn't duck no one. He wanted to fight the best, and he did fight the best. I believe this is his 14th fight. He traveled abroad overseas. This was his second fight abroad that took place in France, and he fought a guy called Jose Ramirez. Absolutely schooled him, put on a boxing clinic, a boxing masterclass, but he got robbed. Jose Ramirez was a Mexican who I believe lived in France at the time, or he had a French. His trainer was French. And I think that was part of the reason why the fight took place in France. But Sweet Pea was robbed, and it had a devastating effect on Sweet Pea. He was seen crouching down, totally gutted, couldn't believe what was happening. Everybody knew he won that fight. And it was a shock. It was a shock, you know, to go overseas and, you know, to pick up a loss like that when he clearly won the fight. Okay, so he then went on to you know, fight some other guys. Greg Haugen, he was another beast. You know, Sweet Pea beat him. He rematched Jose Ramirez in Virginia. And he came out to, I think that was the one where he came out to a marching band. And he was a big supporter of his community as well, Sweet Pea. You know, he was a franchise to Norfolk, Virginia, because Virginia doesn't have a basketball team, doesn't have a football team. So Sweet Pea was a big, you know, he was a big deal to Virginia. You know, you had people like Pharrell, Missy Elliott that represent Virginia, Timberland. But there was always Sweet Pea. So he meant a lot to the people of Virginia. So when he came out to the marching band in his rematch against Jose Ramirez, I believe that was the fight. I'm just purely going off of memory now. That was kind of a big deal, you know. It was an all-black band, and you know, I love that. It was a good look. Anyway, he avenged that loss against Ramirez. He went on to fight people like Azuma Nelson, Freddie Pemberton. Azuma Nelson, I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer. He should be, but Azuma Nelson was coming up from 130. He moved up to 135. Sweet Pea scored him. That was a great fight. Freddie Pemberton, that was on the undercard of, I believe it was a Holyfield. I think Holyfield was the main event. Freddie Pemberton was a one-time champion, a bit of a journeyman, but he gave Whitaker hell, and that was a good fight. So just moving on, you know, as you know, Whitaker came towards the end of his career, he fought people like Hurtado. Sorry, he fought, before all of that, he fought a guy called, who's the guy? Chavez Jr. Once again, he schooled Chavez Jr. and he got robbed once again. On the cards, they ruled it as a majority decision draw. Total bullshit. He got robbed. In '97, he fought a guy called Hurtado. Now, to be fair, that's the only fight that I would consider Sweet Pea losing. And I'm gonna explain why. But then again, Sweet Pea was on the decline. Around 1997, he was fighting at the welterweight division. He was on the decline. His mind wasn't in the right place at the time as well, because he was taking cocaine and that kind of thing around that time as well. Hurtado was beating him. Hurtado was a Cuban. And part of my criteria of being a Hall of Fame or a pound for pound guy is you have to have a Cuban on your record, man. If you don't have a Cuban on your record, you know what I mean, it's kind of a blemish to me, because the Cubans are some of the most feared fighters in the world, you know, the most successful amateur boxers, and they're a flipping nightmare to deal with. If you get a good Cuban, they're difficult to deal with. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Hurtado was beating Whitaker, but in the last round, or the 11th round, Whitaker, you know, caught him and punched him senseless. You know, punched him through the ropes. Hurtado looked like he was dead in there. He looked like he was dead. So he pulled that win out. Then he fought De La Hoya, and he got robbed against De La Hoya. It is what it is, politics, you know, it happens. But around that time, you know, as I say, Whitaker his mind wasn't really in the right place. You know, he was taking cocaine, that kind of thing. It happens. He fought a guy called Pest Ray. I can't pronounce his name. Anyway, he won the fight, but it was later recalled as a no contest, so a no decision, because he tested positive for cocaine. Then after that, he fought Felix Trinidad, who was a big welterweight. Felix Trinidad was at the prime of his career. He was like 23, 24, something like that at the time. And Whitaker was on the slide. You know, Whitaker was nowhere near what he was, but he still gave Trinidad hell. Trinidad did drop Whitaker sometimes, but he gave Trinidad hell. He gave a prime Trinidad hell. You know what I mean? And he was on the slide. And then his next fight after that, he lost. It was a TKO. But, you know, to me, his formal record states that he's got 40 wins and 4 losses. But to me, his last fight, he had no business being in there. And he was coming off of a year's layoff. Trinidad did beat him, but once again, Whitaker was past his prime. De La Hoya, yeah, he pretty much got robbed against De La Hoya. And then Ramirez, he got robbed as well. So in my mind, Whitaker never lost a fight. He never lost a fight. You can call it making excuses, but just looking at it for what it is, he never lost a fight. And he gave us some good memories. He showed us what the sweet science is. He's a throwback fighter. And he's one of the greatest Black American fighters to ever lace them up. And Pernell Whitaker needs to be celebrated. He needs to be elevated for what he has achieved in boxing, you know, especially as a Black American as well, you know. I'm going to be dropping some content, some more content on Sweet Pea Whitaker, dedicated to Sweet Pea Whitaker on my channel. This is a big loss to me personally. It was an inspiration to me, you know, even outside of boxing. You know, I would think of Sweet Pea Whitaker, and it would inspire me to want to be the best at whatever I do. You know, if whatever I do, I think, wow, how can I be the Sweet Pea Whitaker of this? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I ain't even from America, you know. So this is the type of impact that Sweet Pea Whitaker had on, you know, people from around the world, you know. And the last thing I'll say is that I'm gonna drop some content in dedication to Sweet Pea Whitaker that I've had in the pipeline for a good couple of months now. And also I'm going to be uploading most of Sweet Pea Whitaker's fights to my channel, because in chronological order. So if you really want to get to know who Sweet Pea Whitaker was and why he's considered one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time, you'll be able to see all the videos, including commentary, so you can get some context of the time on my channel. It's going to take me some time to upload this stuff, because it just takes time. But there will be a playlist called Pernell Whitaker's career, and it will all be there. I just want to big up everyone that has expressed their condolences to Sweet Pea Whitaker, and everybody that's hit me up behind the scenes, you know, to express their shock and so forth. I'm not going to give no time to these idiots that have got the audacity to disrespect a true American icon like Sweet Pea Whitaker. Yeah, I just want to big everyone up, and you know, just want to say R.I.P. Sweet Pea Whitaker. You know, he might be gone, but he's still with us, and he still remains a true inspiration to me and the people coming up in this game. They've got someone that they can look at, a positive, you know, inspiration in boxing that they can look at and go, okay, this is something we can see in color. This isn't something that we've got to take some newspaper clippings and, you know, imagine what they were like. You can actually see this in color. That's Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. And that's all I'm going to say on that. And I appreciate you, Stormybman, for giving me an opportunity to come on your channel and express that.
Oh man, no problem, and much respect. That was quite admirable dedication that you gave, and a recounting of a truly wonderful and heroic personality in the sport, man. That's why I gave you the floor to share that. And with all due respect, you know, with you being from, you know, where you are in the world, it's nice that someone as yourself could share that with such detail, because that meant that you're a true, you know, follower of the sport. And we need to have people like yourself, you know, have the floor to do that and to share your knowledge and things like that. That's what it's about. You know, we get a lot of people on here that represent and misrepresent where they come from with their ignorance, but not enough respect is given to people for their intelligence. And that their life experience, their ability to share what's beneficial and worth value to be learned. So that's why I wanted to do that. And you're welcome on this channel anytime, brother. I know there's a huge difference in the time zones, but you're welcome on my channel when we do our show anytime. And I definitely want to get you on the Eye of the Storm. I'll set something up with you behind the scenes and we can do it, at your convenience. I like to roll on a Saturday preferably, but we can do it at a time that's even more convenient for you because I don't have to work on weekends. So, and we can air that, you know, at your leisure. But I thank you for being a part of this evening. I saved that last part for you, and you really knocked it out the park with that. So much respect to you, and we'll definitely look forward to you returning.
Oh, I appreciate that, Stormy. Really appreciate that, and I just want to big up everyone that came through as well. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owen, of course, the Odd Fella. We spar on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So big yourself at Odd Fella. 78 Sports, and of course yourself, Stormy B. As I say, I always appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform and just have a moment just to kind of uh, express my views on Sweet Pea Whitaker's passing and etc.
Yeah, and for me also, I'd like to take one quick moment and give our fella a chance if he want to say something as we get ready to close it out because we are going to close it out. But I'll give him if you're done, that's fine too. But do you have any last words, our fella?
Nah, we good to close it out right now. In the day, I think uh one of them one's conclusion was you know what I mean, uh the cherry on top. So I
It
don't
was.
want to
It
put
was.
anything.
That's
Yeah, I don't want to put
and I
anything
don't.
after that.
I don't even want to say too much behind it. I want to kind of let us go out with that. That was great stuff, man. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody who joined us this evening in the chat. The chat, we didn't interact with you as much tonight because we had so much that we were cooking on panel wise. But forgive us for that. You're still in our hearts, and I even still put some comments in there. And I appreciate everybody who came out to watch the show and listen in tonight, especially all of the ladies, Beverly Rose, Denise, Miss Boxing. It was really a great showing and a show up and a show out for everybody who came in with us. And for everybody that was on the panel this evening, I want to thank the Odd Fella. I want to thank my brother Hyphy. I want boxing conversations with Reggie Owens, who's actually just went live on his own channel. So if you still want more boxing talk, please take it over to Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens because he the man over there right now, and he getting ready to cook. Um, and also, lastly, Kane, one of them ones media, who's here and gave an excellent recount of the career and life of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. There, um, there's not much else that we could say to that. It's been a great show. Everybody really responded well this evening. And I just want to say thank you all for making this a wonderful stream and experience this evening. This has been another episode of the Friday Night Chop Session. I think it's episode number 18 now that I've done. So I want to thank everybody for rocking with us. This is Stormy B, man. Until we meet again, I want to say peace.